We are not live. We are not live, but we are alive, lovely Gary. Hello, lovely YouTuber. Hello, lovely Gary. Hello to everybody who is watching us right now. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Rachel. This is Gary. And this is the channel where we aim to give you some really lovely exercises which are useful, because today you are going to be learning some visible mending and experiencing the joy as you do your visible mending. So that's what we're doing today. Please make sure that you go ding, ding, ding with the thumbs up, because it really does help us get out there in the algorithm. Hit the bell, subscribe. If you hit the bell, you'll be notified when we load content, which is at least once a week on a Friday. If you like and if you comment, then YouTube think that we're interesting and starts pushing our content out there. Now, if you want to jump into the mindful stitching, into the mindful mending, you can, because our time code is going to be below. And so you can ignore our nonsense now and just head off and have some lovely sewing time. If you are going, we will see you there. But if you're not going, this is the bit that we always do a little chat about something in our lives and reflect upon it. And it's something that I think we try and choose that lots of people are going through, and so you can all relate to it, and maybe we come up with some little gems, some wisdom where you go, oh, next time that happens to me, I'm going to try that. So this is our mindfulness section. So first of all, lovely Gary, you and I must hold up our mugs because we did a retreat a couple of days ago. We are pretty exhausted. If our energy is a bit low, please forgive us. But these mugs were given to us by an amazing lady called Karen. She came all the way from America and she bought us these beautiful mugs. And for me, she actually made me a bag in matching fabric to put in, and a notepad. What's yours on there? Is it epoxy?
Mine's Fox, Ashley, and it's really, and she really thought about the whole thing, bringing it all together. Hang on, I've just got to leap across my studio. Right. So she gave us these mugs in these lovely bags. And
Yes.
so my mug is a fox. And then actually she used foxy fabric on this lovely little bag that the mug was in, but a really useful like bag to put stuff in, bits and pieces. So nice. And I don't know about you, Rachel, but when someone's actually created a present for you and made it, it just means so much. Blown away. Lovely.
Well, I've got the other little bag. I'll just grab it, actually, that Karen gave me last year on the retreat. That's what she made for me last year. And she filled it with all sorts of little bits and pieces, including some maple syrup all the way from America. So yes, and then she made me a bag. So thank you so much, lovely Karen, if you're watching.
Karen.
That is a beautiful, beautiful mug. I mean,
Big shout out.
regal. It's very regal. It's got my coffee in right now. But it being a tea time tutorial, Gary, what do you have with your tea? You have biscuits. And I have to say a thank you to Jane Pooley, who bought me some Florities.
I'm dead jealous now. Got nothing like that here.
Keeping in mind with our retreat that we just had this weekend, Gary, and I think in general, in lots of ways, particularly for people who are creative, but I think just in life as well, I am reminded of that wonderful phrase, which was by Theodore Roosevelt, who said, comparison is the thief of joy. And I think we might have touched on this before on the channel, but I just want to talk about it today for a few moments, because I've experienced in the last few days quite a few moments of that, of comparing myself to others and stealing my own joy. I've seen some other people compare themselves to others and steal their own joy across the weekend. I mean, it was full of joy and they all had joy. I'm not taking away from their experience. Everybody, so many people are rebooking, which is wonderful. They all had a lot of joy. But there are just those little moments when a couple of our ladies who had done the fantastic cow applique with you, Gary, in the retreat, there was one lady who said, I said, I love it, I absolutely love it. She went, oh yeah, that's great. She said, oh, but look at that one there that she's done. And I said, no. And this is what I do with you, Gary. I look at your things sometimes on here and I go, oh, but we have to stop this, don't we? Because it is absolutely pointless. And I had an amazing conversation with an American lady who came over. It wasn't this lady with the mug, it's another lady called Kim. She came over from the States to see us as well this weekend. And I said to her, and I'm going to say who it was, because it's a compliment. I said to her, I said, sometimes I look at people in the quilting world, like Zach Foster, and he's so knowledgeable and he knows all these amazing people and he talks about the G's Bend revolution. And I sit there and I feel like I don't really know all of this huge quilting history. Obviously, I'm learning and I'm interested and I know a bit more than I did, but I'm not. I said to her, I'm not like Zach. And she said, well, thank the Lord, because Zach's Zach and you are you. And she said, and actually, what you and Zach are doing is totally different. She said, he's him and he's a quilter, and he's bringing his quilting to the fore. And he talks a lot about memorial quilts and memory quilting. And he's got his whole vibe going on. And she said, but you are not a quilter. You bring quilters together. You plan these incredible events, which I've found magical. Should you really care about people, you're unique, and don't ever compare yourself to Zach Foster or anybody else, because it's pointless. And she said, when I was going through all the, the Instagram reels during COVID, she said, that's how I found you, because I was watching people on the Instagram and then I just stopped and I saw you and I found you engaging. And that's why I've started following Crafty Monkeys, because of you. So she said, so please don't compare yourself. And I sat there thinking, oh, all the stuff we say on the channel about comparing and mindfulness and everything, we all have moments, Gary. We all have moments. And I just thought that was really interesting. Absolutely. You are unique. No one in this world can be you. So you be you and don't try to be anybody else, because you can't be anybody else. So be yourself, focus on your strengths, and don't compare yourself to other people, because that will take away your joy. It will take away your magnetic quality. It will take away that happiness that you exude when you feel good, which then brings other people towards you. So don't compare yourself.
It's
Yeah.
confidence, isn't it? It's confidence in yourself and confidence in your work. And that only builds over time. If you try to be like somebody else, or you saw someone's work, see their work online or see them doing something, oh, I'll do it like that. Well, it's not genuine. It's not actually genuinely coming from yourself. And I think people can actually suss that out. I think they know when someone's very genuine and it's new and it's what they're doing, it's they what they've invented or what they've created, they know. And so, looking at someone else and saying, oh, I'm not as good as them, well, you should look at yourself and have a look what's really good, what you've created. And yeah, you can have, I look at work and that think, oh, that's really great. But I try to check myself from comparing, because I think, no, I sit in my own space. It is about sitting in your own space, about what you can do and what people like about what you do, rather than saying, well, they must be better, so I've suddenly got to reinvent myself to be like that. No, don't. You've got to check yourself from doing that, because actually then you're not genuine. You're not the real article,
Yes. And Janet Clare has got this fantastic thing embroidered on her pinny,
Yes.
that authenticity is magnetic. And I absolutely believe it. You have to be authentic. When I used to teach people how to TV present, because that's what I did, I would say to them, don't try and put on a persona and be someone else, because the mask will slip, which is very much like in real life. If you try and create a character, if you try and be someone else, if you're hiding your real self, I'll give you 6 weeks and then you'll show yourself. That mask will fall. And it's the same thing with being on TV. It will fall. It will fall when something goes wrong on live TV. And then people go, who's that in front of the camera? So always be yourself. And it's the same with being artistic, being creative. And also as well, it reminds me of the Oscars, in films. It really annoys them when but it doesn't really annoy me about the Oscars, because I all love a bit of glitz. But it's like when they say, and, the best film winner is. And so often I sat there and gone, one thing for me was Schindler's List versus Forrest Gump. To me, it was absolutely no contest. Schindler's List, for me, was the best film. And Forrest Gump got it, which I hated. Now, someone out there is going, Schindler's List was just depressing and awful. Forrest Gump was wonderful and heart-lifting. That's the point. We're all different. And you can't compare two films for me to be a best film. It's like comparing an apple and a banana. Which is the best fruit? Well, if you don't like apples, you're gonna like a banana.
Keep your essence.
Keep your essence. Yes, growth, change, improvement, learning. Absolutely. I'm not saying always be you and don't change. Yes, but don't look to others and go, I want to be like them, and then try and create them. Because if I tried and created what Zach was doing, first of all, I'd be copying him, which is never a good thing to do. Secondly, I'd be looking at his own business instead of mine, so mine wouldn't get watered and it would die. And thirdly, I'm not Zach, so it would fail. Because if I sat there going, oh, hey, I'm into quilting and I'm a quilter, I'm not a quilter. I can't ever be like Zach Foster, who I am slightly obsessed with, clearly. But anyway, there you go. So comparison is the thief of joy. Yes, learn from others, but don't compare yourself and pull yourself down. I think I can go further. Don't compare yourself. Don't compare yourself, because everybody is at a different point in their life. Everybody's learning lessons. Everybody's on a different journey. How can you compare yourself? You can't. We're all unique. We're all unique beings. Lesson for the day. Right. Should we bring in your table, Gary, so we can all see?
Table. I'm going to bring the camera down so we can have a little look. Right, let's get in. Whoa, there we are. Okay, so I've been showing you a few little sneaky little peeks in my little doodle sketchbook, because I love to doodle with Stitch in my sketchbook. And I created this morning, I thought, do you know what might be a nice thing to do? Is just look at shapes, look at circles, but also learn a little bit of a process and a technique in the same time, which is actually a little bit of sort of needle turned reverse applique. So I've cut a hole in a piece of cloth, a circular hole, and I've turned that circle, and put a piece of fabric underneath, then decorated it. So there's quite a lot of skills here, but it just took me away while I was saying it, just think about how I wanted to play with it and what I wanted to do. I mean, this doesn't necessarily have to be finished. I've literally just started, really. I could put more decoration with some of my stitches around it, but it's just another little page that you might want to put into your little doodle sketchbook of little sewing techniques, or just sewing fun, just taking your mind off of the daily sort of stresses and strains of things that are going on. So what do you need? You need a little bit of cloth, just a little bit of cloth. Here, this is just a piece of cotton. You might have, it could be an old tea towel that you've cut up. It could be a piece of calico. It could be a bit of bed sheeting. But rather than a piece of felt, I've used a little piece of cloth, which I can manipulate and tuck under and just sew very easily on there. I've got something that's really contrasting. Again, this is just a scrap of linen out of my scrap bag. But again, look around. If you haven't got a scrapbook or a bag or anything like that, it might be that you've just got some old clothes that are going out for, to the recycling center or something. Well, if it's really brightly colored, why don't you cut some squares up and use it to actually do some of your mindful stitching with? So I'm using that lovely bright orange. And because I'm using a bright orange, I'm going to sort of match it up with an orange. This is that perle thread that I use quite often. And as I say, I do like using it because it's just the right thickness. It sews really easy. It's really accessible. But if you haven't got this, there is those stranded cottons, embroidery cottons, you could use as well. And you want to just maybe take it down to maybe 2 or 3 strands out of the little like the length. You can do that. That's probably about the right length. I've got just ordinary sewing thread here with a needle, and this is just a white thread. It could be any color, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to use that just to initially just sort of start my little reverse applique off anyway. But to get started, I'm going to bring in my sharp scissors, just some little sharp scissors. Whatever scissors you've got, you just got to cut a circle out. I've got a few pins here, as you can see, and I'm going to use my little cotton reel, and I'm just going to use just any pencil or a pen or something like that, just to draw around something circular. So you can place it anywhere you want to. I'm going to sort of place it about there, up there, and I'm just going to draw a little pencil circle just lightly, and that's just a little guide for me just to get started, just around like that, just a little circle. Now, the first thing to do is first of all, you're just going to cut that circle out. So I'm just pinch it and I just snip into the middle. So I can get in to actually start to cut out the circle. So I'm going to cut to the edge of the circle, and then I'm going to just carefully with my sharp scissors, I'm literally going to cut out a circle in this cloth. Now, the whole process has got a practical outcome apart from being decorative and doodling. And towards the end, I'm going to show you because this is what you would do if you were repairing something. So it's what we call a mindful repair, which is quite sort of on trend at the moment. And it's if you've got a hole in your garment and you're going to repair it, well, make that hole and that repair a feature of the garment, make it a decorative feature. So this is how you would start it. So say, for instance, this was like a little tear in a blouse or a shirt or a pair of jeans or something. In fact, so if there's a little tear or a little small hole in it, you just cut a circle around it. So next, what you would do is you're just going with your sharp little scissors, you're just going to create a few just snips, just literally, I mean, like 1/8 of an inch, a couple of millimeters, just little snips all the way around that circle. That's going to help us turn it back so that we can get a nice edge, because at the moment that edge is a raw edge. Now there's nothing wrong with a raw edge, and if you find this bit is a bit too has too much dexterity, you have to like, it's really difficult for you, don't worry, you can do the same process without even snipping around it and turning it. You don't have to turn it in, but it's just as a technique and something to learn, it is quite a nice thing to just try and get to do, just to see if you can do it. So this is a circle. It might be that you've done a square or your triangle or any other shape or an abstract shape, but you would still just put some little snips around it just to help you turn it in. I'm literally just snipping in so I can just make those little incisions. So I'm going to just carry on going around so I get to where I've started. Just tiny little snips. So I don't know if you can see. If I bring that right, can you see I've snipped all around that like that? Can you see those little snips? Now what you need to do then, I'm going to turn it over, but you could do it whatever side you want. But I'm just literally with my fingers and my woman, I'm going to just press with my thumb. So my thumb is hot. My thumb has got pressure, and I'm just rolling that back. I'm just pressing on the surface. Can you see how that starts to turn that back? Can you see how that's going to start to turn it back? And we're just going to go all the way round. Yours is folded back really nicely. So did that take much effort, Rachel,
Well,
do?
yes, I have to, because I was just going to say to people that when I first did those little snips and I started bending back, I just thought this is not going to work. It's not going to work because it wasn't going back at first. But I just literally just kept pressing and was patient with it, and then you can see that actually it has worked. So
Yes,
that
yes.
yeah.
We're going to just, we'd say, imagine that where it's pressed around, that's the wrong side. So we're going to put the wrong side down on our piece of cloth, like so. We're going to just put it down, and we're going to just, again, you might just have to position it so that it all folds under. Now this is where the little pins come into play. So when you've got it folded over in one area, you can just put a little pin in that corner there, like so, and fold over here. You don't have to put pins all the way around, but I'd say you probably 4 or 5 pins would be plenty just to hold that in place. So like that. So you're making a really neat job of it. How's that going, Rachel? You finding that relatively okay to do?
Yeah, it'd be great if I could get my pins open. You know what? I don't know what's wrong with this particular box of pins, but I can never get it open.
You have had it open before, because sometimes they do seal the box of pins with a piece of sellotape, don't they? They put that across. So
maybe I've done that, but I think I've got another box here which is ready to be opened. Yes, let's sort that box out. Right. Okay. So
now I've seen people that are really practiced at this, that can do this sort of needle turned applique, and they literally wouldn't, they probably like, oh Gary, you don't need to put pins, you just lay it down and there you just start stitching in and getting it to stick. Well, this is the easy beginner's way of doing it. So we're just going to keep it really nice and simple and accessible for everyone, no matter what level you are at. So now, once I've got that all, you see I've got it all positioned in pins. I quite like the way I've placed the pins. They look quite decorative themselves. And then I just get this is just the fine just sewing thread or machine thread, just white thread. And I put a little knot in it at the end. And I'm just going to come up and I'm going to just start on the edge, sort of like just to, if I bring this up to camera, I'm going to just come in from behind about there, just where my thumb is. Can you see I've come in behind, and I'm just going to pull the thread through, but I'm not going to pull it through really tight. You just want to see that little knot is just going to almost like a stop. and I'm literally just on the edge, just to hold it down. I'm just going to do a little running stitch, which is a running stitch. It's just literally in and out, little fine little stitches. Again, and I've talked about this so many times, we're doing some mind measuring. So we're just looking in our, with our eyes and just sort of thinking about how we use the needle, and we're going to measure and make sure we try and get consistency and evenness as we go round. But like, as I always say, do not think, oh, it's all gone wrong, I'm not very consistent. Well, that doesn't matter. Life isn't consistent, is it? It's not like measured and consistent all the time. So if a stitch is out of place, do you know, I think it takes more to leave it there than to unpick it. I think to leave it there and think, do you know what, that doesn't matter. I think that's, if you can conquer that, and conquer that it doesn't matter, then you're on a really good path to some really good mindful experience. So I'm just going to take that all the way round. And again, once you've gone round and you've got as far where the pins is, you don't need the pin in there anymore. So once you've got to a certain point, you can take the pin out and then just continue going all the way around, just tiny little stitches just to hold it in place. Because we're going to then, because we're using matching thread and tiny little stitches, they're hardly going to see. And then we're going to decorate over the top of it. So they don't have to, at this stage, don't have to be completely invisible. Anyway, it doesn't matter if they show, because we're going to add some decorative stitches over it. So I'm going to continue going all the way around. And again, in your own time, this is not a race or a challenge to be faster than anyone else. This is just your time, just to go around the edge. Take the pins out as I go along. Now, this one I've done orange on white, and I'm using orange thread. But another thread you might want to use, if we were thinking of maybe a contrast color to orange, is blue. So you could do, if you were going to be really bold and bright, instead of a sort of like the same sort of tones of colors, you could use a contrast color, which would be blue with the orange and the white, which could look quite nice. My thread's come undone, so I just got to re-thread my needle.
I should say to people as well, because I think you do have in our video library on our website, craftymonkeys.com, I'll put the link below. I think you do have a mindful stitching, no, a visible mending class, don't you?
Yes, so there is I have done invisible mending, or no, invisible, visible. We must remember it is actually to be seen. I'll show you at the end. What I'll do is I'll show you some of the examples so you can use this, and it's on our website. If you really sort of like, oh, that would look quite nice as a decorative feature on an old jumper that perhaps I haven't worn for ages because it's got that blooming hole in it right on the edge of the sleeve or on the chest or something like that. Well, I would say make it a feature, repair it. And of course, we're going down the whole sustainable route. We're repurposing clothes or looking after our clothes and reworking them so we can wear them again. And I think it could look really quite nice. So I will show that. Well,
Yeah.
I've nearly got to.
And I've decided for our lovely YouTube viewers to do a little permanent discount code.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
on our video libraries. So if people want to go and download, and not download, but rent a class from us, they get 60 days to watch it on YouTube. It's on a private area of YouTube, but you get the link from us. So as soon as you purchase it, you get 60 days to watch. And I'm going to do a discount code below. So all you have to do is type in a word, which I'll give you in the detail below. And you will get a discount from the videos.
Wonderful. That's nice. So that's fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really good. Wonderful. Like that, that could just stay as it was. So if you think, right, at a stage where, right, I need to go and I've done my mindful bit for today, then it could just go in the book. You might want to tidy up the excess bits of cloth behind, so I could cut that away, and then that could go and just be in your book. But I'm going to show you how you could do a little bit more decorative stitching around that. So I'm just taking this excess away. All these little bits, don't throw these away, because these could become useful. They could become another little project in the book. So if you've got a little bag or an envelope to put anything, little scraps in like that, especially these bright colored things that always look really nice when you're doing sort of decorative work, can look really quite nice. So we don't need the needle and cotton. What we're going to do now is we're going to use the embroidery. So we're going to bring in some embroidery stitches. Now, way back, Rachel,
Yeah.
we did do blanket stitch. Do you remember the heart? We
I
did
do. It's on my wall. Yeah.
that. I think, did we do that near Valentine's Day this year? Was that be
Actually.
February time? So
Yeah.
we did this heart and we did a blanket stitch around the heart. So we're going to go and revisit that. So you can always go back and have a look at that, but I will go through with it with you now. How are you doing, Rachel? So we're both at the same stage.
Oh, you just wait, baby. You just wait. Ta-da!
Oh, wow, that's lovely.
Yeah.
Brilliant, brilliant. So you've got that. So have you got, what thread are you using? So I think you've got different thread than mine, haven't
Well,
you?
I did have extra perlé, but I think I've only put one strand of it in my needle. Maybe I should try and use a.
Show me the skein of it. What's the, so the skein is like the wrap of that, how much? Oh, so you've got, yeah, so that's like strand, what we call stranded cotton. And one strand's enough. One strand could be enough. You could see it with one strand, one or two strands.
Yeah, because look, it's going to be all
You're
right.
going to see it. The thing is, what with stranded cotton, because it's not twisted or wrapped as one continuous length, what can happen, it can tend to, as you're sewing, it can tend to knot up. So you do have to take a little bit more care with the stranded cotton and a bit more slow. So rather than going fast with stranded cotton, go a little bit slower, especially if you're using more than one strand, because it can tend to knot up. Anyway, I put a knot in the end of my bit of perlé here, my little bit of orange perlé. And again, we don't have lengths and lengths of this. We only have probably enough. So we've just folded it over from needle to just below the wrist. And then I measure again to my elbow, and just below the elbow, I cut it. And that's probably long enough. You don't need really length, as I always say, lengths and lengths of thread, because it takes more time to pull it through, all that through, more potential to knot up, plus also by the time you've then pulled that through, you could have just changed and just refilled your cotton and just got a load more. So you're not saving time. Okay, right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with my needle from behind, and I'm just coming out onto, the needle's going to come out on the edge of where the cotton, the white cotton, meets the orange linen. So it's just coming out there. So we're just going to start off, and I right-handed, my left hand is my non-dominant hand, so I'm working from right to left. But you might work, if you're left-handed, you might work from left to right, depending. So if you see the way I'm working and you not right-handed, you're just going to go in the opposite direction. So I've come out here and I'm just holding the thread here in my left hand, and then I'm going to come down over here, not right below where I've come out. I'm going to move, so a bit more mind measuring. I'm going to come out maybe another eighth, and I'm just going to come down about an eighth, and then I'm going to come up here. So I'm going to bring this right up to camera. Hopefully it focuses. Be good, camera. Can you see what I've done? So I've come out here. I've then moved my needle across about an eighth. I've gone in down an eighth, and then I've come back up on the edge of that circle like that. So that when I put, and I'll do this a few times so you get the hang of it. So then you carefully and slowly pull the thread through. And there's your first, just your beginning of a blanket stitch. Okay. Then I'm going to do that again. So again, we're going to measure needle, going to come along about an eighth, come down about an eighth, and then put the needle in and come out onto the edge like so, like that. And then I'm going to push it through. And I'm going to do again. Now the idea is that you keep mind measuring as you go along, as you move around that circle edge. So we're going to come across along an eighth, come down an eighth, and come up through, and just come out on the edge where that white cotton meets that orange linen. And I'm going to do again, going to do that again. Holding it up to camera does mean that I get it all caught up, of course, but it doesn't matter. It's fine. It's working. No, it is doing it. It's fine. There we are. So I'm going slowly going around. Rachel, how are you doing with that stitch?
Yes, I'm all right actually. If
Okay.
I know we did it before and I'd forgotten how to do it, but now I'm sort of getting back into the flow of it actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll bring my camera up so people can see Because I wonder sometimes if people think, I bet Gary's done loads in advance and sent them to her, so she just gets stage number support.
No, not at all. I
Stage
mean,
number
people only knew that I usually contact you about hour to half an hour before we're
Yeah,
about to catch up and do a
yeah.
little bit of recording. And I say, right, Rachel, this is what I'm doing. Hope you've got these sort of things in your little office where you broadcast from. So
And I have. I mean, I've literally got a sewing box, which my daughter had for her textiles O level. Oh, that was a bit of a short stitch, that. And it's filled with rubbish in terms of, like, nothing expensive and just tiny bits of scrappy fabrics. And that's all
yes,
I ever grab out of there. When you say we need this, it's just like literally I just grab scraps of fabric.
yeah. And I think, if you look around the home or you look around maybe some old clothes that you're going to chuck out and things like that, these are all things that you can use for just stitching in and to create your own little stitch doodle sketchbook. They're all just made, it's literally just scraps of fabric. It's nothing, no big financial outlay. If anything, if you're going to invest some needles, get some needles, maybe get some colored cottons, a few, some color, or just start off with one color, just one color per lay thread, a little bit of, which most of us have at home to put a shirt button on or something, a little bit of white sewing thread and a few pins. And that can get you started. You don't need really, really expensive equipment. You really
Yeah,
don't.
you really
Um,
don't. No.
and I think, in today's world, to be able to do something that gives you a load of pleasure, relaxation, something just to absorb yourself in that hardly cost, is just pennies to collect. I mean, I just think it's a lovely thing. It's just great to be able to, it's what I'm trying to say is it's accessible to everybody. It's just, everyone can get this really.
Do you know, it was so lovely on our retreat when they were all doing the mindfulness as well. We had some serious sewers on there, people
Yes.
who were doing some improv quilting and then, traditional sewing, some serious people who've got lovely machines, been doing it a long time, da da da. What was amazing was when we gave them little simple hand sewing, I almost felt like I was the expert, because people were like really like, oh, and how, wait a minute, I've got to do a back stitch and French knot, and they were like, it was interesting watching them because
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
but they picked it up and they loved it.
And yeah, exactly what you said. Well, I was surprised because they've been sewing for a long time and they've got a lot of experience. But actually, that was sewing with a machine, which automatically, just does it. Some of these machines, they cut the thread, they even thread the needle for you and everything. And then when we go back to basics, which is hand sewing, it's like, oh. And I had one lady said, I've always wanted to know about this. I've wanted to know about hand sewing, about a little bit of a simple embroidery. And I don't think, not everyone is as fortunate as I was to have, those grandparents that would sit with me and just show me as I sat saying, well, what are you doing? And they said, right, come and sit here and I'll show you. And I think that's almost what we're creating here on our channel, is like, come down, sit with us, and we're just going to do some creative activity, be it sewing, be it a little bit of drawing or mark making, just something which is creative, but you just need to sit with someone for 5-10 minutes, just do the process, and then you're off running. You can go home and you can do it, and you can try different ways and how you can incorporate in something else. And I just think that's really what we're doing here at this moment in
Basically, we're
time.
everybody's grandparents. Is that what you're saying?
Well, maybe, where everyone, I think, going this conversation, but I think there's been a sort of like, nowadays, I don't think people, or I'm generalizing, I know, but I think it's very difficult for people to find time to sit down with others or with younger people, as I was, to sit with them and say, look, I'll show you how to do that. Yes, I must admit, I always had an interest. I wanted to learn to sew. It was naturally in me. But I think, if we just spent a little bit of more time, maybe, or just showing people how to do this, which is what we're doing, I think, as such benefits, such a big benefit from it. So
Yeah.
I've nearly got to the end. So I'm going to come through. So I've got where I've started. So I'm going to do my last stitch through, and I'm joining it up to where I started. So you can't see. So that's the clever bit. So you've got to work that out. So you've got to work, I'm going to finish my last stitch is going to complete where I started off. And then I'm going to come through and then I'm going to knot the back. like that. So I'm going to just, I remember how I knot the back. So what I do is I normally make sure, don't pull it up tight. I'm going to make a loop. So I've held the fabric, the thread that's come through on my non-dominant hand. I come through with my needle, like I'm sewing through the loop, like that. And then I'm going to pull the thread up, but I'm going to make the knot close right to the edge of the fabric. So I always put my finger on it, and so that the knot closes nice and close to the fabric. I'm going to do that one more time. So I pick my thread up, I come through like so, and then I put my finger down so that the knot closes under my finger like that. And then I just give it a little snip, and then it's finished. And then that's that done. Now, how's yours done, Rachel? You look like you were
Yes.
doing.
Now, I've not done as many stitches as you. I actually raced through it, but that's because I knew that I didn't have a very long piece of thread. So I've done less stitches, but they are blanket stitches, as you will see.
They are. They are indeed. Very
So
much so.
the thing is, I just enjoyed it. But if I was doing it off camera, I would do more stitches. But yeah, I just once again, I just find it very therapeutic.
There we are. And so what you then can do, so if you watch another backlog, what I've done then is I've just run running stitches around here. So I've just done running stitches and I've spiraled them out. Now I'm sure, now if you look back, you'll find my spirals. So you'll find how to do a running stitch spiral all the way around again. So you can just go back, have a look at that, and then you can use those stitches. You can also do French knots. So if you want to explore, you could do a little bit of French knots, remembering this picture. So how we did the little French knots, we could do some French knots in there also. So there's a lot of potential. I will, as I promised, show you how you could use this in decorative stitching. So if I move these things out, so this is just a t-shirt that I decided to do some just some decorative stitch in some holes. So there's a little hole up here on the t-shirt. So what I did is I exactly how we've just done, just put some thread behind, some fabric behind it, and just did stitches. And then I took the idea and then just actually started to work out further and actually do some little patches and things like that. So that's how you would use these things for, or this approach to some embroidery, and how then you could use this to start decorating and repairing your jumpers and your t-shirts. This is just some decoration on the cuff as well. So it doesn't just stop in your doodle. If you want to, you can take it through to doing some repair, some garment repair, some visible mending. So you can do that.
Yes, visible mending. And as I say, I will put a link to the class with a discount for our lovely YouTubers, for them to download it. Well, not download it, I keep saying that, but rent it for 60 days from the date of purchase. Right, well, I was just so getting carried away there that I actually just started my little spiral. So, yep, I've just started it.
Lovely. That looks nice.
Go round and do some more spirals and some French knots and maybe some little loops. Yes, love it.
Fabulous.
And as you said, what you can do with this now is you can take it on a train, you can take it with you somewhere and just enjoy yourself.
And actually, you know, if it started like you have, that is the perfect time to put it in your bag or in your briefcase or where, you know, when you're off on a journey, because you don't have to even think about starting it from scratch. If it's part started, say, right, I've had my mindful moment, I've had my moment of relaxation, then put it away and then leave, like you have, leave the needle in there with a piece of thread and just pop it in the bag, because you can get that out and then you can spend another 15 minutes, 20 minutes just stitching into it. And again, time passes by. So it's like picking up a good book. I just think it is like reading, and then you just put the marker in there, or you mark the page where you finished, and you go back to it when you've got another opportunity to just get into the zone.
Exactly. And we're back in the room. Lovely. Another lovely, lovely little exercise. I feel, I could just go to sleep. I'm so zen right now. I mean, I'm tired from the retreat, but I'm so zen and so calm. I'm going to carry on with that this afternoon. It's just some little French loops. I really am. I love it. I took my son with me to the retreat, didn't I? And you said, oh, you don't need it for the Friday night. I went, no, I brought it with me to have 5 minutes of calm because it's going to be crazy. So, and in fact, I did an Instagram live on our Crafty Monkeys account, and Nicholas Ball was looking at it, you know, the famous quilter. He was looking at it, and it was funny because he said you should enter it somewhere. And I said, Festival of Course. He went, no. So anyway, Well, lovely YouTuber, thank you so much. And lovely Gary, thank you to you. Please do like our content if you've enjoyed it. Just hit the like on the way out, and do subscribe to our channel if you can. And also hit the bell, then you'll know when we're loaded for you. Now, next week's episode, which I don't know when you're watching this, of course, you know, there might be 65, there might be 165 videos there for you to choose from. But do look out for the title board that says Russell James Barrett, because he is going to be our guest on next Friday's episode, which, of course, as I say, for you, you can look at these any day of the week, look 30 on Monday if you want to. But we are loading another one with Russell James Barrett, who is an amazing, I was going to call him a quilter, but, you know, he's an artist, he's a sewer, but he loves his hand sewing. He loves it. And he's going to come and show us a little meditative exercise of his own. I'm super excited about that. So we'll have a chat with Russell and see what he thinks about meditative sewing, and also see what he does for us. And then you can join him with that one. So, lovely YouTuber, we shall bid you adieu. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you the next time round. Bye-bye.
Bye.